Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I hope you had a great weekend and that you are ready to rock! This week's topic is going to be called alternate picking, and it's simple enough to talk about, but it's a little bit trickier to put into action, but don't worry, by the end of this video you'll have a pretty good idea about how to practice it and how to utilize it, so let's go! First and foremost, I'm going to explain what alternate picking actually is. Now, most people when they start learning the guitar, myself included back in the day, would hit everything just with the downstrokes, like this. And that definitely sounds cool, but a technique that comes in handy is on your way back up to hit the string again. So you hit it with a downstroke, hit it with an upstroke. Downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, upstroke. It's a good way to play those heavy, chuggy riffs while using less energy. The first thing that I want to talk to you about is the way that you hold your pick, because this is going to be instrumental to developing your technique. Take your pick and choose a string, doesn't matter which one. In my case, I think I'll use the D string. And I want you to put your pick so that it's perfectly parallel with the string. Now, this edge of the pick that's facing the fretboard, you may sometimes hear that referred to as the leading edge. I want you to take that and angle it about 95 degrees. Edit 45 degrees, not 95 degrees. Not 95 degrees, 45 degrees. Okay, continue. Floor, so that the back edge of the pick is tucked in with your thumb and pointing in the general direction of your elbow. And the first little exercise that I'm going to give you is actually really simple. Just take an open string and practice the downstroke and the upstroke over and over again. And the goal here is to have equal intensity with your downstrokes and your upstrokes, so you don't want to hear something like... You want it to sound nice and even, like... And once you have that on the low string, you can go on the higher strings, for example, the third one. And when you're feeling really daring with this, you can do it like really, really fast. Once you get the hang of all that, you can try what's called the spider exercise. So we'll take our first finger and start on, say, the 5th fret of the low E string. And you're just going to go up chromatically on that string with all 4 of your fingers. Down, up, down, up. And then do that with the rest of the strings. And then back down. Now, the way I personally like to practice that one is that you go up the fretboard, and then shift up 2 frets, and then go down. And then go down 1 fret, and continue like so. That exercise is great if you're brand new to this technique, but it doesn't sound very musical, does it? So, let's learn something that does. I am going to teach you a new way to play the major scale. A few lessons ago we had this shape here. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we're going to try one that's a little bit more challenging and a little bit more fun, I think. So we're going to start in the same spot, but we're going to use our first finger on the 8th fret. And then with our 1st, 2nd, and pinky fingers, we're going to go 8, 10, 12. And then we're going to do that same thing on the A string. So on those 2 strings we have. Then we're going to shift up a little bit, and we're going to have our first finger on the 9th fret, and then we're going to play 9, 10, 12. Oh, getting a little ahead of myself. 9, 10, 12 on the G string too. So, on those 2 strings we have 9, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12. And the next set is also not so hard. We're going to have our first finger shifted up again to the 10th fret, and then we're going to go 10, 12, 13. And then, surprise, surprise, that same thing on the high E string. So from the beginning, 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 13. So with the spider exercise, it was pretty straightforward. You had 4 notes on each string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down, up, and then you'd hit the next string with a downstroke. This is a little bit trickier because there are 3 notes per string, but there are a couple of different solutions, and which one you decide to use just depends on your comfort zone. The first way to do it would just be to muscle through alternate picking as it is. So on the first set of strings, you would have down, up, down, up, down, up. And that pattern would continue through the next 2 sets of strings, like so. And that does work for a lot of people, that's just fine, but if you find that's uncomfortable for you, the first solution would be to double up the notes on each string. So 3 times 2 is 6, which is an even number, which makes this a lot easier. So you'd play 8, 10, 12 on the E string, and then 8, 12, 10, 12 again, and then suddenly you have an easy way to ascend through this pattern. And you can do the same thing in reverse. The third solution that I'll offer you today is what some people refer to as directional picking. So we'll start at the bottom of this pattern again, and once you play 8, 10, 12 on the low E string, you go down, up, down, and since your hand is already in a downward motion, you just sort of sweep down and play that 8th fret on the 5th string with another downstroke. So down, up, down, down, up, down, and continue like that. Oop. Now, to be clear, I really wanted to emphasize that there is no right or wrong way to do this, okay? What I really wanted to highlight is that you have options, and whichever way works for you is right for you. And to close out, I think the last most important piece of information that I can give is breathe and relax, because especially when you're doing something like this, it's so easy to get your arm tensed up, and that could lead you to tennis elbowy bad gooiness. Gooiness? I don't know. If you guys are interested in learning the nitty-gritty details about picking technique, I will link a video down below. It's the first part in a series called Cracking the Code by Grady. And he really goes in depth into the science of picking techniques, far more than what my technology would allow me to do. So I'd highly recommend checking out his series. I actually rewatch the entire thing about once a year because there's just so much information to absorb from it. But until next week, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you have any questions, you can reach me on Instagram at OGShredBaron, with 1 R, not 2, and I will see you guys next week.